interviewing Dave McGrail
and Catherine Milligan,
and they both took part in making this book, Surviving Middle School, come to life. Dave, he wrote the book.
Catherine edited.
And today we're going to interview them.
Did any important memories, maybe from middle school or when you were a teenager, did they come to mind?
I remember writing a lot of notes to friends and getting really into that, communicating while the teacher was doing something else. And there are a lot of situations when you're
relate to that.
There are plenty of characters there's a whole drama going on in the classroom aside from the actual work that's being done. And I feel like the book, is very realistic in portraying the many things that are on a student's mind. I loved playing sports. I have, really close girlfriends. They're all different kinds of girls, and I feel like this book represents plenty of different kinds of kids from different kinds of places.
A lot of the storylines in the book, I think, we tried to draw from our past and situations that we have encountered or we did encounter when we were kids, and some of those have been around since the beginning of time, right? Bullying, fights. Boys, right? Health issues. But the challenge, and this goes back to a question that I think you were asking earlier, Maxine, is that we needed to make that relevant for you guys. And this is where we brought our kids in. And one great example of that is with social media. So obviously cyberbullying is just invidious and it's everywhere, right? But we tried to create a situation, a cyberbullying situation or text situation, and we're not able, Catherine and I we're not in touch with texting. Catherine as a teacher isn't capable of being grammatically incorrect, right?
I know, I put a lot of periods and punctuation in my text.
It's really disturbing. So we needed to go to our kids, right, and get help from them, our girls and son, to get help from them to write the text in a way that will resonate with you guys. So trying to take situations that have been around forever and make them current.
Do your kids inspire you to keep up with your work?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm also a teacher, and so working with students on their writing before I even had kids has been a source of inspiration from the beginning, especially because seeing how a person lights up when they realize that what they're writing really does have value and substance, and they maybe even start to like the sound of it and want to do more because of that. I feel like I can sort of empower students to love what they do and do more of it. And so having kids has given me more opportunity to do that, but mostly I've liked sitting back and watching what my kids are interested in, finding out what's challenging to them, kind of like Dave's family situations where, he's learning from them and realizes he could put things in a book that imitate life. I learned that way, and it has been really fun to get their feedback on these books even before they came out, because both of my kids read the books in their draft forms, and it was very reassuring when I would hear them laughing, over on the couch, and they're just, my son wanted me to read it aloud to him, so we had a great dialogue back and forth about some of the dilemmas for the boys' book.
What were your opinions in the very early stages of this book?
So I felt so lucky to be able to read the first manuscript, and it was really, it was very thorough. There were so many scenarios, and I found that Dave's writing was not just easy to read and fun, but really funny. So almost every page made me laugh and kept me going. So it was a great project to take on in that regard. I also really liked the variety of scenarios, because girls reading this book can follow a path in which they're finding out things that might happen to them in terms of their health, things that might happen in their friendships, things that might happen in their schoolwork, and so many different scenarios challenges them to make choices that do reflect the kind of hard decisions in life. Do I include someone or do I not include someone? How's that person going to feel? What's the consequence or the outcome? Or do I make a choice that's going to make me feel good physically or with my family later? Or, weighing those kinds of choices really impressed me, even from the beginning. I felt like Dave had thought through a lot of that.
Okay, Dave, I have a question for you. How does living with all females affect your book?
Good question, Eve. Well, I guess if I were to go back in time and talk to, say, 20-year-old Dave, he would be completely clueless as to many of the trials and tribulations that women and girls go through. And I have been able to witness the good and the rough firsthand, and see how my daughters have tried to deal with the challenges they face beginning in kindergarten, really. I'm not sure what your opinion of this is, but at some point life gets a little challenging. Can I ask you that question? What do you think? When do you think life gets a little challenging?
I think when you have a bunch of extracurricular activities and then you have to balance schoolwork with that, and also like have time to wind down.
Mm-hmm. Which is tough these days, right? Especially with all of the extracurriculars and other things you're juggling. So I saw my daughters go through that along with the normal things and changes that girls go through. And I wrote it down. I wrote down my reflections and some funny anecdotes as I saw them tackle these issues. And I used that to form the sort of the raw material for the book. And then with Catherine's help, we took this, and it was very nice of her to say that when she read it at first, it made her laugh and she enjoyed the situations, but it was really very rough. So with her help, we went through maybe 15 different drafts before we got to the final version. A lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and coffee.
Was there parts of your book that your kids made you edit?
Sure. So actually a lot of the genesis of the book came from a journal that I kept on a daily basis so that I wouldn't forget all the wonderful and sometimes not so wonderful experiences of being a parent. And I actually drew from that and some of them are really funny, and that's really where it began, just kind of taking those little pieces and trying to mold something out of it. And I probably shouldn't tell you which pieces were used from the journal, lest you get me in trouble with my daughters. But there are at least three or four storylines that came straight from the journal. And then, from there, things I'd heard, things I made up, things Catherine came up with, stuff I'd read about, etc. But it really began with, with things that happened to my kids.
Dave, did Catherine give you any valuable input, seeing that she is a woman?
Catherine gave me valuable input on all issues, including but not limited to women's issues. And she does, as a teacher, she does so very diplomatically and with kid gloves. So I appreciated that it's hard. Nobody likes to have their written work criticized. It's tough, right? We all, we put a lot of effort and energy into something that we write, and you guys probably feel the same way. When a teacher marks it up, it just hurts a little bit, right? But she's very good at giving criticism and doing it in a constructive manner, and her input was invaluable. And really, a lot of the writing is hers, not just commas. I mean, whole concepts, whole storylines. I mean, she was great, and that's why we had so much fun that we did a second book.
So, Catherine, when you were reading Dave's story, and editing it, did you find some of the issues, like the cyberbullying, did you find it hard to read sometimes?
Like because it would make me concerned for young people? Only in, I liked that situation or those kinds of situations, because I want the reader to have a range of feelings, and a lot of the decisions we have to make evoke emotions that are not just happy, lighthearted emotions, right? They are concerns, and I find myself even using some of that language that is in the book, like, what would you do? Stop and think about what the consequences are. This is something Dave and I have continued to talk about. I use that language with my kids and with my students, because you have to sort of feel what's hard about a situation in order to make a really thoughtful, careful, effective decision. So I'm glad that some situations are more serious than others, and they might make you feel the weight, kind of heaviness about it.
if you go through it, there are probably 2 goofy situations for every one pretty serious situation. And we tried to keep it light and kind of fun in all those cases, but that's reality on the internet, that's reality on your phones, and it's not going away, especially with social media.
Well, and middle school is a time when you're growing up in the sense that you have to wake up to some of the things that are harder to consider and be aware of. So it puts you in that situation as well as all of the lighthearted.
Yep.
Has anything good or exciting come out of writing these books?
Well, Maxine, thank you. Good question. Let's see. A few things have. First, we developed, Catherine and I and a few other folks developed workshops to help girls make good choices, which borrow a little bit from the books, but for the most part, the content of those is new, and we've had a lot of fun with those. We've taught them at schools across this area. And another thing that's come out of the book is a podcast, which we're working on right now. We have a script for a few episodes, and we're shopping that around, so hopefully that will get picked up. And one other thing that's come out of it is the book is being used by Girls Inc. in their new mentoring workshops. So that's great. Very excited about that, and we'll see what else happens.
What advice would you give to kids starting middle school?
The one piece of advice that I would give to girls and all kids starting middle school is to pause and take a breath before you make a decision.
Mine is somewhat related. I would say give everyone many chances, because chances are you're going to misread people's intentions and feelings at certain times, and they probably are not the person you think they are from the first impression, or maybe even the second and the third.
So, is there a woman or multiple women or girls or multiple girls?
There's only one woman.
that are very inspiring to you and like help you keep moving?
My wife. Do you need more? She's about this tall. My wife, Lauren.
Thank you so much for being here today, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
We had a great time.